Go get water. My name is Joe Parham. I'm from Candler, North Carolina. I do sheepdog demonstrations over at the Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina. My family came here in 1817 out of Virginia. And I don't know if my fifth great-grandpa brought a dog with him, but my family's been using dogs here in this area for a lot of years. These dogs were used to help keep coons and groundhogs and stuff out of the garden. They were used to help catch up hogs in the fall when you put them up to fatten them up. They were used to help fetch things in. Most of these mountain families kept a small flock of sheep because they did it for their spinning. And these dogs were also used on the sheep. I just hate to see all this old stuff die out, so I was always interested in it. My mom's dad always kept a dog to work his stock. He kept English Shepherds, and I kind of got into Border Collies instead.
Hello, I'm Tim Barnwell, and welcome to the Face of Appalachia. Working dogs have played an important role on the Appalachian farm since the area was first settled. My friend Joe Parham's family has been working dogs on their farm for at least 5 generations. He carries on that tradition, training and working Border Collies on his own place to move sheep and cattle. Joe is passionate about this athletic and energetic breed and shares this love of them with others through public demonstrations. Recently I met up with him at 2 venues, the Biltmore Estate and the Asheville Celtic Festival. For his demos, he brings ducks and a small herd of sheep and puts his dogs Keiko and Iggy through their paces to the delight of audiences.
I've always just enjoyed working with dogs. And, it's a little bit like your fast dog that you used to see in everybody's yard. Everybody kept one, everybody squirrel hunted. There was a time where an old collie dog was almost in every yard. Now, it's not exactly the registered Border Collie of the day, but it descended from the same type of dogs that became your registered Border Collies. They were just used on every little farm around. Like I said, to keep stuff out of your garden, to kill groundhogs. Some of these dogs, I used to have a Border Collie that would tree coons. So they were just at one time an all-around dog, and these dogs had to earn a living. You weren't going to run down to Walmart and buy a bag of feed. So you fed this dog what was extra. And sometimes on some of these mountain farms, there wasn't a lot of extra, so that dog better be pulling its weight one way or the other.
So what was your first exposure with Border Collies? What kind of piqued your interest there?
Well, like I said, my granddad had English Shepherds, but Border Collies are kind of like the Cadillac of herding dogs. And so I started looking for one about 30 years ago. And I bought my first dog, and I read everything that I could get my hands on. And I started trying to train this dog and thought, man, this dog is just not very smart. It wound up being that it wasn't the dog, it was actually me.
How many dogs have you trained, do you think?
I don't know, I've probably trained through the years 25, 30, I guess, something like that. They don't all wind up staying at my house. There's a good market for, even today, there's a good market for dogs on dairy farms, pig farms, small backyard farms that people keep a few animals like sheep or goats or something like that. And then there's also trialing has become a big sport.
I guess people always traditionally think of the Border Collie as a sheep herding dog, but you're saying around here they do any kind of livestock.
Anything. They'll work anything. Like I said, I sold that dog to Florida that works on a huge dairy farm. She works sheep at my house and cattle, but she'll never, I'm sure, never work another sheep in her life. She's just working on a huge dairy farm. So, and they've been used on pigs. I've worked my dogs on everything from geese, ducks, pigs, sheep, cows.
So I know the dogs come from England and Scotland, but where did they get their name?
Well, you're right. They come from England, Scotland. Your Celtic people are given credit for starting a breed, but the history of this dog is basically the history of the British Isles. You had the Celts that came in with them, and then your Romans came into the British Isles, and they brought livestock and dogs from all over the known world, and they bred those with the dogs the Celts had. And then you came your Anglo-Saxons, and so your Germanic tribes came, and back then there's no refrigeration, so dogs were used to move live animals along as food for the army. Those were bred into the dogs. And then your Vikings came with their Spitz type dogs. And not until about 1900, or a little actually later than that, these dogs were known as shepherd's dogs, and were known by people's names, the family names, or the location they were bred. But a farmer by the name of Adam Tiffner bred up a dog named Hemp, and people were trialing by that time. And he won a lot of stuff, and people liked the dog and went traveling to breed to him. And he was on the border of England and Scotland. They got to calling him the Border Collie, and the name stuck with all of them. But the first registration, which is in the British Isles, is called the International Sheepdog Society. So at that time, they were sheepdogs. They didn't have the name Border Collie on them.
So what do you enjoy about it? Why do you do it?
Like I said, I've always liked working with dogs, and it's just kind of fun to take raw talent that's there. And I'm not really training a dog. I'm molding something that's there. They don't all work. They don't all turn out, no matter how good their parents or grandparents were. Set of papers to tell you what they might be, not what they're going to be. And you start molding that into something that is useful. Matter of fact, a Border Collie that's got work that's not trained on a farm can be the worst thing you can ever have, because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Keiko, come get water. Once they're trained, there's no more valuable tool, and I just enjoy getting to work with them. I enjoy watching this dog come along, see it improve, plus it speeds up. It's me by myself, so I run about 50 some sheep right now and just one milk cow. That's all I got, but I've got 3 different pastures. I can move stuff anywhere I want to without any call from the neighbors, and they're willing to help, but they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But this dog, I can quietly move stuff around. It's less stressful on the livestock, and it's much quicker for me to do it with the dog than it is with neighbors.
How did you get into demonstrating this?
Years ago, Biltmore was looking for someone, and a man in South Carolina called a friend of mine. He didn't want to come up from South Carolina, so my friend got in touch with Biltmore, and me and him started doing demos for Biltmore, and then that branched out for me doing them at Celtic games and, basically Celtic games in the Biltmore Estate. The Celtic, anytime there's a Celtic festival, they love to see a Border Collie and some sheep running around.
I met up with Joe at the Asheville Celtic Festival, where he was doing his Border Collie demonstration. Over the past few hundred years, many Scots-Irish migrated to America, bringing their farming traditions and herding dogs with them. Many settled in Appalachia, and today North Carolina has the largest percentage of Scots-Irish ancestry of any state, with almost 3% of the population claiming that heritage. Celtic festivals have sprung up across the country. They feature Highland games, music, entertainment, food, family history booths, and vendors.
I noticed you were, in addition to doing the whistle, you're using voice commands?
Yes, sir. I start off with voice. It's how I start them. And we use the old Celtic terms for left and right. How they got started, I have no idea. But the left-hand flank to come all the way around left is come by. The right-hand flank to come all the way around is away to me. Then you have walk up, lie down, and I also have a look back. If I was bringing stock off of a big field and got them halfway to me, and I noticed something we'd missed over to my right. Well, the dog's, of course, facing me. I would send my dog way around to its left, give it a look back, and send it to its right. So I kind of set it up so it can find it. Now, after a while, the dog learns to look on its own, but especially when you first start out, you want to make it easy for that dog to be able to spot that livestock. But with those commands, you can move stuff just about anywhere that you want to.
And how do you use the whistle?
The whistle is better for distance. You're like this windy day right now. That wind's blowing in my face, so it carries my voice backwards. I mean, it doesn't carry as far. But a whistle is sharper. And so once you got the verbals on them, they pick up the whistles extremely quick. They'll just catch on. And I run 2 dogs a lot of times, so I have different rights and lefts for my 2 dogs. Their walk up and their lie down is the same. You could change that around too, but I'm not smart enough to keep up with too many of these things. So I just have the rights and lefts different on the dog.
So the whistle has different pitches for the different dogs?
Yes. So this is called a shepherd's whistle. Overseas, a lot of these guys use her fingers. And I can whistle with my fingers, but I can't get the different tones. On my one dog, her right is just a low whistle. Her left is what I call a shooting star. Her stop, her look back, and then my other dog, her right is sounds like you're whistling a pretty girl. And her left, and then the recall. Iggy, lie down.
So what makes a good dog for this?
For a Border Collie, it takes a lot to make a good dog. They've got to have natural ability. They got to have some strength. They've got to have brain. And I hunted for years and hunted cur dogs. And it's much harder to get a good Border Collie than it is a hound. It takes way more. And they've got to want to work with you. So, and some dogs have work, but when you start working with them to do it your way, they're too soft. They don't have enough work ethic to go for over top of you going, no, you can't do it that way. You need to kick out wider. So you start pushing on them to get them wide, they're like, nah, I don't really want it that bad. So it's harder to breed a good working Border Collie, I think, than it is hounds or even bird dogs. It takes more stuff. Ain't that right, Egg? Is that right?
On this channel, I hope to continue to honor the people, vibrant culture, and strong traditions of Appalachia. If you share my interest in the people and places I call home, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons to learn more about this way of life.
That'll do, girl.